Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Move Me to Texas team here with another episode of the Real Advice Podcast. Really excited for this week's guest. Not only is he just an absolute badass human, dad, husband, realtor, owns a media company, but he's fun to be around. And I'm excited to dig into all things real estate and media and just everything. Please join me in welcoming Brooks Landry. What's going on, man?
Thank you, Katie. Everything's good. Thank you for having me on.
I am excited to dig in. We I guess met technically I guess we met in San Diego, but we like met more formally in Houston, formally in Houston when you came down here for the video blueprint. So
But that was an amazing time. I had a lot of fun with that.
yeah, no, I did as well. So really glad that y'all made the trip out here. And excited to continue to like grow the media stuff and we'll definitely get into that. But first let's start with real estate. That's why we're here, right? For those that may not know you, how'd you get into real estate?
So I actually moved, kind of the Reader's Digest version of this. I moved from the East Coast to California, and I got a job cold calling for a lender in San
Oh,
Diego, and
okay.
it was brutal. I mean, it was 6 days a week. It was about 8 hours a day for about a year and a half of just getting application after application, predictive dialer, nonstop, multiple hundreds of calls a day. Eventually, graduated into originating loans, and then got my real estate license in 2010, I think 2010, 2011. So we kind of started right around the financial crisis, foreclosures, short sales. It was a hell of
Yeah.
a time to get into real estate. And then really kind of been going strong. My wife and I opened up a small little brokerage. We had big teams, small teams. We owned companies, owned brokerages. And then as of recently, we just kind of, wanted to lean out and kind of make it a little smaller, a little focus more on us as an individual agent, and put some focus into Envision. But yeah, I'm 11, almost 12 years going strong in this crazy business.
That's congratulations. Broke Agent posted like I don't know if you saw the meme that they posted today on I think it was just on Eric's page Broke Agent, but it was like all of these bikes and it was like everyone getting ready to go on a race and they all like basically face planted. And he's like, agents going into their fifth year of real estate or something like that. So congratulations on making it past that fifth year.
Thank you.
And having a brokerage and all that. So let's like kind of take it back, right? So what would be maybe one piece of advice you'd give to someone if like they just got their license, they've hung it at a brokerage, like day one stuff?
Yeah, so what I was told when I first got into it, it's funny because coming from the mortgage industry and going into real
Yeah.
estate, I thought I know a little bit about it, but obviously everything had changed from '08, '09, and 10. The market and everything completely flipped, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I had a real estate coach with Tom Ferry. Her name is Eileen Rivera. I don't know if you know Eileen.
I love Eileen.
Absolute monster, awesome woman. Just so she essentially said, you need to establish a farm immediately. You need to find an area that you know the ins and outs of for the most part, and really start establishing it, and essentially have a little 1,000 home circle. And I said, okay, I can do that. And she's like, well, where do you live? And I told her where I lived, and she had said, oh, you've got this guy and this girl and this guy in there. They're some of the biggest producing real estate agents in the Bay Area that only focused literally in my backyard. I'm like, how do I compete with this? And she had said, you know what, you'd be surprised how many people don't want to work with the bigger top agents with massive teams. There's a lot of low hanging fruit. So if you're ambitious enough to get in there, then she highly recommended it. And that's what I did. And I just started door knocking. And I know door knocking is not the way that a lot of people like to go to get business, but it's how I've built my farm. And I
Yeah.
was consistent with it for a few years, religiously, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, grabbing data, following up, and just continuously dripping on them. And then I started implementing video into it and kind of showing you know, my ways of growing business. I showed a little bit about my family and whatnot, and kind of grew my sphere that way. So if I'm going to give any advice, I'm going to say, find a farm, establish a farm, get to feeding that farm, and that farm's going to feed you.
No, that's huge. And like I think that like, the old school, new school approach of like not only are you hitting them with like the door knocking and mailers and like old school, print stuff, but also like, oh, hey, you're also gonna see me online, you're gonna see me, through my content and things like that. And then obviously just being involved in the community, that's huge. But like you said it, like not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone wants to put in the work or put in the
Did you ever
time.
get into door knocking?
So I did. Oh yeah, I used to door knock before every single open house.
Right.
And you know, That was fun. And then we kind of transitioned more into the mailers because like some of the neighborhoods that we were farming or looking to farm are like gated and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right? Like townhome communities that are gated. So like unless you had a listing or showed a house in there, you didn't know the gate code, right?
yeah, you're right.
Um, so we kind of transitioned over to mailing, but lately we've been door knocking. Some of my agents now have farms, right, that we're farming and helping them to farm. And we actually went out this weekend and door knocked. Half the team went out into one of our farms and hit the streets. So
Really,
you know,
it's important. It's funny. Like I put this little system in place where I door knock, I'd grab some information. Obviously, you offer out, curious about your property's value. Let me
yeah,
send you a CMA. Anybody that I had a good conversation with, I would immediately order a 6 pack of Sherry's berries to be delivered to their to their
yeah,
door. 100% of the time, I got callbacks,
yeah.
and it was like, "Hey, nobody's ever done that. First of all, I'm too many mailers in the mailbox. I'd rather see you at the door," type of thing. And I mean, it was that was a game changer. Once I realized I can I can almost bribe people with chocolate
Yeah.
covered strawberries, and that's how it
Hey,
was.
I love those. The one thing now that I feel like probably is like slightly detrimental to door knocking versus when you were doing it 10 years ago is the Ring doorbells.
I
So
know.
we still will go old school and knock, but it's like they see you walking up. We had multiple people like talking um through like the door. They're like, I just woke up. I'm like, it's 10 a.m., man. Like, what are you
Right.
doing? So kind of funny.
Right.
Well, so now, like, obviously life is different, right? You've been in business for 10 plus years. Where are your lead pillars today?
It's from that a majority of them are from the farm. I'd say 70% of my business came from what I took 3 or 4 years aggressively going after. So door knocking, following up. A majority of that does come from my farm every year. And then referral based off that as well, the buy ups, the buy downs, everybody looking to graduate into something a little bigger or just sell to move out of the area. California and the Bay Area, we've had, as you know, a lot of people moving down south and
Yeah,
Arizona and Nevada and your state of Texas. So um, there is a majority of it came from the work I put in years ago.
yeah,
I do very little. I haven't bought leads in years. My direct mail campaign consists of quarterly kind of updates and little things. Though I am starting to get really aggressive with it. I've got an entire funnel system that I've built out for the past few months, and I'm going to launch shortly. But essentially, what I do is the quarterly updates, and then every listing I'll have a coming soon mailer of about 2,000 homes around that address. I
nice.
just listed. I just sold, and then I do a stats that matter mailer. So I'll hit each home, each neighborhood with about probably 4,000 mailers through the scope of pre-marketing to actually close.
So stats that matter. Let's dig into that because those are the
Yeah.
things that like I hate the like just sold social media posts and mailers and things like that. So stats that matter. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so what I do in my stats that matter will be days on market. I'll give an idea of a range of how many people came through the open house, how many offers we had, without digging too far into it. So kind of show the interest within the home or interest within the area for anybody that's interested in potentially selling. I have a business model where I actually prep the property for sale. So if I
Yeah,
staged it or did any landscaping or did any paint touch up, I'll give them an idea of what the cost was on that and how much the seller saved with that.
yeah.
So kind of the stats that matter with in the eyes of the potential, customer next. So those are the big things instead of, 20% over asking price and just listed, just sold.
I mean, and that's just like California, right?
Yeah.
So, who are you really bragging to when everyone else is doing it too, right? So,
Exactly.
no, I love that. And like stats, another stat that matters, right, is that like people do like, isn't it that like when one home sells, three more will sell in the next 12
Yeah.
months or something like that, that they always say. So it's like, you're effectively interviewing for your next
Right.
listing, right?
And
By
I
by putting
believe
out
that.
your marketing.
Well, and that's where once I realized that, and I realized if I can go hard on coming soon's, just listed, solds, and stats that matter as far as a direct mail piece, enticing people to the open house with the Mr. Softy ice cream truck or like little pop up trucks for food or whatnot.
Yeah.
That continues to grow, and then as
Yeah.
you're building data and you're grabbing emails and contact information, and you drip on them year over year, that's where I've said, you know what, let's get rid of the 15,000, $10,000 a month Zillow budget that I was spending and this, that, and the other. Nothing was coming for me for that. For the most part, a majority of it was just from the farm.
No, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you got into video marketing, like as a pillar of your business. Because I know one of the things I like that you've been doing is like some of the reels I think are funny. I like some of the reels that you've been doing as far as highlighting listings. Like I just feel like they're different, right, than the average reel that you see, or worse, the photo slideshow that's a reel, right?
Yes.
So, how'd you get into it? Because like you don't just wake up one day like wildly creative. Well, maybe you do, but like wildly creative, like it's a process, right?
It is. So, kind of going back to when I started, it was all short sales and foreclosures. So, essentially, what I would do is I would go and I'd get a list of all of the active homes that just hit the market in Danville, for example, foreclosures, short sales. And I'd go up on YouTube and I'd say, 50 foreclosures hit the market this week in San Ramon or Danville. Here's 25 of them for you to get access to the other 25. Go to this sendmeforeclosures.com was this domain that I had built out. And essentially, it was just a lead capturing. So every day, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'd be posting these throughout Craigslist, throughout the Bay Area aggressively. So that was kind of how I really got into video. Fast forward 10 years, we wanted to do something a little different. Roland, as you know, my business partner, and him and I were together on a team. We met with my other business partner, Guillermo, who's the videographer, the editing genius, and said, you know what, we need our listing videos to be completely different than what was here in the Bay Area. Everybody had the same pianos in the background. Everybody had the same kind of drone look, the same type of cuts, the same edits. And we wanted to, we threw a little DMX in the videos in the background, and we threw, you know what I mean? We threw a
Yeah.
little Pitbull in the background, and it started to kind of catch attention. That grew. A bunch of other agents started to reach out. And then it just kind of graduated into us batching and creating content for ourselves to grow our brand. We tried to get away from kind of the encyclopedias type stuff that, what is an FHA loan? FHA stands for blah, blah, blah.
What
Really,
does
the stuff
FHA
that
stand for? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. But and even the videos you put out, the product you put out, it's amazing, and you get insane engagement with it. And that's kind of as we started to kind of play around with that, we started to kind of open up and look to see what other people in the industry were doing.
Yeah.
And then we just started to kind of grow our content day here at Envision here in the Bay.
Well, and so I'd love to hear more about Envision, or talk more about Envision, because like, I think that's just I think it's so cool. I love what you guys are doing. I love the idea behind it and the premise behind it and all that. So, you guys basically formed a media company, right? Because you're like, this doesn't exist in our market. We need it at least for ourselves, but this probably is something that other people could benefit from. So tell me a little bit more about kind of where it is today and kind of what y'all are doing.
Yeah, so I mean, it did start off just for us to get some good editing, some good videos, to kind of grow our brand. But then it's just started to grow. Other companies started to kind of link up with us just within the real estate space, and then we started to link up with, we did videos for Microsoft and Xbox and Culinary Edge and this big, food consulting company here in the Bay. And then we started to do some commercial stuff and events and whatnot. Our bread and butter is the real estate mortgage space, and kind of expanding what we've had for experience over the past, for myself, between real estate and mortgage, almost 16, 17 years. So yeah, that's essentially kind of how it grew. And as we started to kind of grow out the content day, we'd have people come into our studio here in Pleasant Hill, and they'd sit here for 3 or 4 hours. We'd create 12 scripts with great hooks, great engagement. We'd have an interview process similar to this, or kind of the Glenda Baker's look, where it's kind of the talking head look. And at the end of those 4 hours, we batch about 35 pieces of short form content and kind of send it off and get it out to them. They'd repurpose it on social media, but most importantly, their database, because that's the
Yeah.
big thing. All those emails, all of those open house connections that you've had over the years, those are the guys you want to consistently drip on. The social media stuff's great, it's sexy, right? You get the likes, the follows, and the engagement there, but the meat and potatoes, where the money is within the database. So that's what we started to do, and now we're in the process of actually scaling this and being able to offer this out nationwide. So we've been doing a beta test over the past month or so. With realtors in Florida, Arizona, SoCal, here in the Bay Area, where we're essentially just doing their virtual content day.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think that like y'all having real estate knowledge is helpful,
Mhm.
right? In like coaching realtors on how to do content. I know some videographers that like don't know anything about real estate. So they're like, oh, okay, that didn't sound right, but like they're not really sure, right? One of
Right.
my buddies is a videographer, but he's also a realtor. So like he does content for one of my mortgage professionals, and like he's able to be like, hey, I think this is how, because like she's targeting consumers, but she's really targeting realtors, right? So he's like, say it this way or do it this way or switch this around. Or this is a really good topic I've been hearing a lot about, or whatever. So I think that that knowledge base is really helpful, to properly coach clients, because, otherwise you're just kind of out there
Just kind of
saying
winging
words.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have a little bit of a leg up against some other competition in the space, or at least within the area, because I mean, I've been bit door knocking, by a dog.
Yeah.
I've been through I've been through
Like not bit figuratively,
no,
literally.
yeah, literally, yeah, literally been bit. But I've been through the process, and I know what the buyers and the sellers are looking for. I've knock on wood, had some pretty good success in real estate.
Yeah.
So I've failed so many times that it's allowed me to kind of take those and failures and kind of move on and build content out of it. It's working well though.
So, don't want to give away all the secrets for Envision or anything like that, but like if someone's listening and they're like trying to get into short form video, I guess first, what would be like your advice as far as like, just do it, you look how you look, you sound how you sound. Like, what's your kind of nugget of like, this
You
is
just have
imperative and this is why you should do it?
You just have to. I mean, and I know it's easier said than done. I was like, yeah, I know. I got to get the way you sound. I mean, the first time I ever did a video, I like sweat through my shirt, like two different shirts. It took me like an hour and a half to do like a 30-second video. I kept, critiquing myself. God, do I
Yeah.
sound like that? Is that really how I sound? Why would I do my anyway? Get into it. You need to get into it. What I've always done was just kind of put together a quick little script, even if you were just kind of reading an article, and just literally record that article, send it to your friends, your family, whatever the case may be, and kind of get comfortable with that. I
Yeah.
think BombBomb's got a great academy, and if anybody uses BombBomb.com, but they have a great kind of training academy where it steps you through different kind of processes, and it does get you comfortable with it. Video is one of those things where if you're not digging into it yet, it's going to be tough to kind of catch up down the line, just because we know that everybody's getting into it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here, I have a follow up question. Do you feel as if I haven't started today? Have I missed the boat?
No, no, not at all. I mean, you can get into it. I do think being able to get a process down of being consistent with content, you almost have to put the WIFM on the acronym, kind of what's in it for me. I always try to build our content out with what's in it for my clients. What are my clients going to get out of this? Well, that's why we try to steer away from what we call the dictionary content, where it is what's an FHA loan, what does a conventional loan mean, but more of how does an FHA loan affect me? When should I
Yeah.
use an FHA loan with X amount? And that's kind of how we would break it down. But no, if you're just getting into the process, you just got to go. You just got to push record. What is that? There's one that says "damn it, push record," or I think it was. I don't know.
I haven't heard that
You
one.
ever heard that?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't
I'll
know.
find it and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, because I'll be like, "Oh, now this makes sense. Brooks wasn't crazy."
No,
Um, no, I mean, and I think that's tough. I think that, you know, it's, um it's sometimes hard to look at people, and I mean, like, we have very different content styles, right? So, like, I look at what some of the stuff that you do that's, like, super creative and, like, skits and green screens, and I'm like, "God, that's awesome. I could never do that," right? And people look at what and, like, look at what I did, like, "Oh god, I could never do that." But, like, you've just gotta start somewhere. Most of my best performing reels, sadly, are me recording on my phone, and, like, the quality is just not the same as it is with a
right.
camera, So it's just like, man, like, it's crazy that this one has double
The
the views
iPhone
of
the
the
iPhone and the Android and those cameras, I mean, they're comparable to some of the stuff that we have back here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, the way that it's all put together, and that's kinda how we're pushing out the virtual one as well.
Yeah. Well, but my problem is like my camera shot ones are shot with my videographer, and
Right.
they've got zooms and pans and all that, and then like mine shot on my iPhone, it's like I just make a few cuts and then like the hard zooms, like
Right.
I'm like I have no skill at video
Right.
editing skills, and it's like all of that stuff is like the stuff that I want to get out like ASAP, so I'm like I've got to shoot this right now,
Like,
so it
the
is what
hand
it is.
shaking while you're doing it, and yeah, no, I'm
I
with
at
you.
least use a tripod
Do
most of the
you?
time.
Oh, are you
I
on
shot
oh, okay.
I shot one in a hotel room in Dallas because it was like, um, I think interest rates or the Fed rate or something happened. And I was like, I've got to get this out because if I don't shoot this today, then tomorrow I'm going to just be one of 10,000 agents that's shooting
Right.
this. So like, I know no one else is like up at 8 p.m. So like put my clothes back on, brushed my hair back out and was like, all right, I'm going to shoot this. And like the lighting was terrible because it was dark and like hotel rooms have no good light. And I
Right.
was like, I'm putting it out and it got like, over 10,000 views. And I'm like, see, like, but it's terrible quality.
You just got to do it. Yeah, you just got to wing it
Yeah.
and go for it. Hmm.
Um, what would be so like okay, why an FHA loan matters or why I should use one over blah 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 whatever. Like, what's your formula for like content, right? Like everyone always says like the hook and then like the meat and then kind of like reframing it. Do you guys use like the loop where it's like the starting sentence is the same as the ending sentence and you can't tell when it starts and finishes, or like do you have any like you
So
know
we've been playing with that. We haven't put anything out on that where the loop does, but yeah,
yeah
no, ours is pretty similar. You have the hook. I call it a hook, a cross, a body type of deal. It's almost like the boxing analogies,
yeah
but with a good call to action, depending on how the content is, right? So we're building out a process where we are. Essentially summarizing and breaking down into layman's terms articles that are through the Real Deal, through Inman, through CNBC, and the stuff that your clients know or hear about, and we're kind of breaking those down into a good 6 or 7 line piece of content
nice
to record as well. So that on top of the scripts with the hooks, the call to actions, and then the body in the middle is pretty similar to what a lot do. The toughest thing really is the hooks and those calls, and then trying to get them into within the loop as well, which is new for us. So we're playing around with that.
I
Are you?
always I haven't really played around with it a ton. I
Mhm.
think about it, but like I don't script my content. Like my content's literally just a note on my phone where I have every idea.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll write in like a hook or like the bullet points of what I want to say, but it's like, if I open up that note on my phone, it's literally let me just pull it up so I can like wire fraud,
Right.
rent increases, longer lease term, buy down rate, too many cooks in the kitchen,
Too many cooks in
investing.
the
Like, you
kitchen.
know what I mean? Like, it's literally like I hear something or I see an article or whatever, and I like write down like the subject. Cause
Mhm.
like I find if like I listen to one of your videos and I'm like, oh, I really like that idea. And then like I try to write down your script, then it's like I'm like super awkward in doing it. But like if I hear your video, I watched a couple times, and then I write down like the premise of the video, then
Mhm.
like I say it in my own words and it's like more natural, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
I don't know
that's
if
kind of
there's a proven formula for the most part, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
it's 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 being confident and understanding what you're selling, if you will, or kind of bringing across as far as content. I mean, there's so many different ones. It's funny because we kind of over the past year really kind of racked our brain. What is the formula? Like, how do we break this? But for the most part, it's a hook. It's information where you're able to bring a problem, or a problem that arises, and overcome that problem, and have a call to action depending obviously on the content with it as well. But um it's interesting, it's fun. I don't know what it is. I've been selling real estate for 11 or 12 years, and I'm like a lot more excited about growing this type of thing. Um but it's fun. It keeps us on our toes. Everything changes. This content in this industry is always keeping us on our toes. So
Yeah, that was the thing that we were talking about today, on the mastermind that I was telling you about earlier is like, you know, yeah, today reels are the thing and vertical video is the thing. And I think it's gonna remain that way for a while. So like hop on the train and start doing it. But like remember when IGTV was the thing? And like
yeah.
you could put a 5-minute video on Instagram and it would just like get thousands of views. Like,
Right.
so it's like you've got to always stay relevant and like understand what the algorithm wants and like adjust your content strategy. So like, we were talking about like still doing some photos, still doing carousel posts, still, leaning in on stories. Like don't just focus only on reels because if it changes and that's all you do,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
you may be
You're kind
SOL.
of
So
stuck. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah. All right. So switching gears a little bit, what would be a book or two or how many ever that you would recommend like everyone to read?
Giftology is probably one of my. I don't know if I can remember who the author is on that, but you got that? Giftology
No,
is a
I
great.
gave it to my marketing coordinator for her to
Did
read.
you? It's you.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the big. I mean, obviously the Gary Keller one was a big deal. I read that years ago, but I'm a big. I love to kind of to give. I'm kind of a give to get type of guy, and I've always believed that within business, and that's kind of how I've always kind of grown my business. My dad was big on that. Growing up, he owned insurance brokerages, and we would always be giving gifts and gifts and
Yeah.
gifts, and it was one of those things where not to kind of beg for the business type of thing, but more of a hey, I appreciate you. You could use
Yeah.
anybody in the industry. There's how many thousands of realtors in the Bay Area, but the fact that you even chose to pick me is a huge deal. So,
Yeah.
token my appreciation. That's that's a big one, I'd say. You
Yeah,
like
for
that
sure.
one?
No, I love giftology. I literally like it was sitting on my bookshelf and I gave it to my marketing coordinator for her to read because I was like, I want us to like think differently about gifts, right?
Yeah,
Like we do a ton, I mean, and you've seen them, right? Like we do a ton of the branded, stuff and things like that. And all that's cool, but like how can we take it next level of like, okay, hey, Brooks is really into whatever. So let's send him this because he just, did this or how, whatever, right? Like so celebrating moments in people's lives and giving those unexpected gifts, not just the things for your business or not just the it's your
right.
birthday, like, seeing that something happened or you did something or whatever. And like, those gifts I think are the fun ones that I enjoy because they're unexpected.
For sure. Do you use Client Giant, or have you ever heard of Client Giant?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't use them. But yeah, I'm familiar with them. I love the concept.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's funny. I just got a ton of emails from clients the other day because I don't know when they go out. I mean, I do once I check on them. They're like, oh, thank you for the blanket and the scarf, and so kind of going
Yeah.
into fall, but it's cool. It's a great business model.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And I think that anything that you can do to kind of not necessarily automate, but take the human error out of things, right? So
Mhm.
whether it's a client giant or, having someone on your team that helps you out with that or, things that go out at certain times of year, like that's always pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you.
All right, cool, man. I'm gonna hit you with one last
Uh-oh.
question.
Great. What do you got?
All right. If it were your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
I'm from Maine, and I'm a big lobster guy.
Okay.
So it'd probably just a massive lobster feed. I think would be the big thing. Besides your typical steak, right? That's kind of the go-to. I'm a big lobster guy, I like seafood, so probably be something seafood.
I'm a fan of lobster. If you had to, this is just like completely unrelated. Where's like your number one or top few lobster rolls in New England?
Ugh, jeez. Yeah, it's funny. This is literally my cousin's wedding is today, and I was supposed to make a trip back there, and they went down to the port in Portland, and there's just so many little. You know what's funny about lobster rolls? The best lobster rolls are in these hole in the wall lobster shacks.
Oh
Where it's like
yeah.
you go to San Diego and probably Houston or in Texas and whatnot. Your best burritos are like these little hole in the wall spots that
Oh
are
yeah.
like forget about it. That's really it. Yeah.
Well,
You ever
um,
been to New England?
I have. So
Okay.
I went to school at University of Tampa in
Okay.
Florida.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of people from New
Transplants.
England down there.
Yes, they are.
And so a decent amount of friends from Boston and New Hampshire and, Mass and all that New England area. So I've been to Boston a few times. But it's a good time. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's beautiful.
So cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the
Appreciate you.
time to share and hang out and talk a little bit about media and real estate and kind of your journey. If someone doesn't follow you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, check, Instagram, Brooks Landry Group, or, Envision Media, INVZN Media, both on Instagram and then TikTok as well, Brooks Landry or Envision Media.
And if you don't follow Brooks, forget Instagram. I mean, you should go follow him on Instagram because that's a better place to DM. But we didn't even talk about, and I feel now I'm like shit. We didn't even talk about be a realtor.
So it's funny. I obviously, kind of played off the Be a Man, right? The Be a Man series. I'm like, God, this is so hilarious. And we just started to kind of play around with it. In fact, we had the idea for a while, and I'm like, Roland, I don't think I should do this because some of my ideas are probably going to piss some people off. But it honestly, like 95% of these videos are issues or things that I've done in the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of poking fun at myself. I've had some mixed reviews. So if you haven't seen it, anybody watching, check it out and tell me your honest opinion,
I
please.
I think they're funny. I could never do anything like that because like my brain just doesn't work that way, right? So like, it's one of those things that like, hey, good for you. I could never do that because I couldn't pull it off one and two, my brain isn't that creative. But I have seen some of the comments and those make me laugh. So I would go watch a couple videos and then like get your popcorn and read the comments.
Yeah, the comments get a little crazy. I actually just shot 30 of them this morning,
Oh
so we just
God.
kinda, like, redid a whole 30. I have a Trello board just full of them on my phone, but yeah, so we've got plenty more to go.
I don't think you'll ever find a content lull on that, right? Because like, sometimes you get no content lull where you're just like, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to shoot. Like, let's go back into the
Right.
the vault and see. Just go to like lab coats and see what everyone's complaining about. And
Right.
like,
I know,
there's
but
a
Derek
whole month of
Broke Agent said the same thing the other day. He's like, "What do you mean? Just go to my page. I have 4,000 Be a Realtors on my page." I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're right."
yeah.
But yeah,
Cool, man. Well, again, I
love it.
appreciate your time. I
You
would have
too.
been really upset if we hadn't talked about Be a Realtor and gotten off the call. So I appreciate you sticking on for a couple more minutes and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, in San Antonio, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. See you then. Thanks,
All
Katie.
right, man. See ya.